Hey peeps, I'm Michelle.
Hey everyone, I'm Natalie.
Hey, what up? It's Faith.
Hey, Sydney.
Hey, it's Kat.
Hey, it's Bria.
Hey, it's Lori.
Hi everyone, it's Karina.
And this is the Red Lips and Mic Drops podcast.
Red lips and mic drops, fake hips and lip gloss. I'm talking issues and our thoughts. The world's unfair, so let's talk.
Where is that coming from? That's coming from somewhere. Like, why are women so competitive? What is
I believe my thoughts is that we are women, and this is like going through generation after generation after generation. We're growing up in a man's world, and we are striving and clawing and fighting our way to be one with them when we don't have to. We just have to be ourselves. But the generations before us couldn't be themselves. They had to fight. They had to be like the men. And so they would tear the women down so that they could be the centerpiece, which is not right, but it was a survival technique, I feel, back in the day. And so now I see a lot more women coming out that are more supportive, that are like, no, there's room for everyone here. I don't care if all of us were funnel builders. It wouldn't matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to anyone else, because there's plenty of work to go around. There's plenty of clients, and you can only build so damn many funnels in one damn day. Like, it's just, this is not going to happen. I'm not going to take on 100 clients and build 100 funnels in a day, because I can't.
It has to start somewhere, right? Because and from the perspective of a teenage daughter, like she's 13 years old, we were dealing with a mean girl situation with one of her used to be her best friend, right? And the text messages that were coming through, I could never imagine the things that were being said to my daughter being said when I was 13 years old. I wouldn't even have fathomed saying that to any of my friends, even if I wasn't friends with them anymore. And I know this girl, and I know her parents, and I know that her parents aren't like that. So where does it come from? Because she's not getting it from home. And then it's like
social media.
Friends. Well, and that has to be what it is, right? Because it is the young girls growing up now are exposed to so much negativity that when Kat, when you were saying, those really positive ones on TikTok, I'm so, I haven't seen them yet, but I'm going to start exposing my daughter to that stuff.
I think I see them all the time now because I watch it so much.
Right. Yes. But it's so, like, as a parent, it's so tough to watch these things happen. And you can step into a point, but you can't control everything that happens in their lives. And you have to let them fight their own battles at some point in time, right? Because, you're not going to be there forever backing them up. But it shocks me, some of the stuff that comes out of these kids now at 13 years old, that I wouldn't have. She got called a scumbag bitch. Right? Another 13-year-old girl called my daughter this. Yes. And my daughter is, and I am not naive as a parent, but she's a sweet kid. She's nice to people.
I'm sure you're very nice, Lori. I'm sure she's very kind. It's like, it doesn't shock me that she's an angel and wonderful.
But I do know, so the kids say things when it's just them versus in front of their parents and things like that. But she would never say something like that to somebody else. And I go in and I say, hand me your phone, and I want to see what's being said, because I monitor everything. And the messages that she sends back are like, oh, please don't be mean to me.
Oh, wow.
Right.
If I were a parent, this is Michelle. Here we go with the diagnoses. This is why I'm not having kids. I'd be like, bitch, who the hell do you think you are? Don't you dare talk to my daughter.
Right?
Lori, you are so good. I would be like all up in that little scumbag.
Oh. Yeah, it's a group of friends and moms and stuff. So it's like, I got to keep the peace with it.
Yes,
but
of course.
It was really tough not to take over the phone. I said, so what would you like to say? And think about what you want to say before you just come out and say it. And she's like, well, I want to just tell her to leave me the fuck alone. I'm like, then tell her to leave you the fuck alone.
Right.
Good. See, my mother didn't teach me that. My mother, because of her mother and my grandmother's mother, said to deal with it. Don't burn any bridges. Oh my God. And I realized how toxic the burning of bridges thing is. I was never taught that, Lori. Like, so I was always taught to just be kind right? Be a little doormat. And my mother has, and I'm announcing this because she came to me like a couple years ago and she said, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about the way that I went about raising my girls. She said my girls, because my brother, he didn't even get this. Like he didn't get the brunt of this at all. My brother will say, hey, I'm not cool with that, you know? And I get it. It's like a man type of thing too, man, woman. But she said, I'm really sorry that I raised my girls to be so kind to a fault or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so true. And
Well,
I'm glad she acknowledged it.
I was just going to say, it's all learned behavior. So like
Right.
your daughter is going to respond how she sees you respond to things.
Yeah.
Where you see those other girls coming after her, they didn't learn that like just through YouTube and TikTok and watching TV. They see how their mom or their older sibling responds to things. And then, you know, I mean, I literally had a friend's mother look me dead in the face and said, the only reason why I have what I have and the success I have is because of what I look like. Kid you not. And that friend is always the jealous one, always in competition with everybody. And I'm thinking like, for years, I could never figure out what it was from. And then when the mother actually said that to my face, I'm like, oh, well, here we go.
Makes total sense now.
Because that mother had to work so hard, like Faith was saying, and bully people because she didn't have the looks, and she made it to the top of where she was, but it was at a time where women were never at the top.
Right.
So she had to do those horrible things to get there. So therefore she believes that her daughter doesn't have what I have, but I only have what I have because of what I look like, not because I worked my butt off to get to what I have. And isn't that, and then because of that, this is how this person now lives her life in competition with everybody. Constantly, the person always has an opinion about everybody. If somebody gets good news, can never congratulate them, has something negative say if they do, right? But for years, I could never understand why that person was that way. And then, you know, and obviously there's the narcissism that happened from that. Michelle would understand that, but now just for the mere fact, and this was someone that like has known me since a little child and had the gall to say that to my face.
That's, you know, that's one thing that my mother did not do. If anything, she was like, and this didn't help either. My mother was the opposite. She was like, you have to slave for what you want. I slaved my whole life. She's very much a matriarch, brings home the bacon. I mean, my dad worked, but she always had the better job, right? She went to school. I was 5. My brother was 9, my sister was 12, and she was going to get her master's degree. She was working full-time at the hospital. And she was just doing it all and just finding the resources she could to make it work. And I admire that so much about her, but she was also the opposite. Like, oh, I'm just, you know, no self-worth. Like I'm hideous. What are you talking about? But like, she's a beautiful woman. And I'm like, so I learned that. So I would be like, I'm ugly. And everybody that I've been with is, you know, I still struggle with that a lot. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, are you looking at yourself? And I'm like, no, I really, truly believe that. I don't say it for a compliment fish. I genuinely feel that way because I was taught to feel that way from the person who is, you know, and I think my mom always thought it was cocky. She would always tell me like, that's so cocky. And I don't think that telling yourself you're beautiful is cocky. I think it's
confidence. It's confidence building. But I have the mother downstairs right now that has no self-worth, and then that I had none. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at myself like, oh, I ripped myself apart this morning before all, you know what I mean? And so, but then I have someone else's mother telling me, well, you only have what you have because of what you look like. So then Michelle could tell you now it's like combating those two beliefs, like that my own self-esteem where I look and can rip myself apart. And then you have somebody else being like, oh no, but you're not worth anything because you only look a certain way. So that's why you have it. Right. So it's, you know, it's that,
that is super common in your industry too.
Oh,
Super common. I was literally brought up, like people would come up to me and go, at least you're pretty. And I'm like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? They're like, at least a man will take care of you and you'll be okay. And I'm like, what the hell? And then I got into a cellular detox center up in Hollywood, and it was like the same thing. And one of the girls goes, the only reason you got this position is because you're skinny and cute. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Have you guys seen okay, who's on TikTok? Michelle, are you on it? Okay. Have you seen there's this trend going around, and it's these girls saying, name one reason why girls hate you, why other girls hate you when you introduce yourself. And like they'll take videos of themselves like as a response and just show their faces like, hi, nice to meet you. Like meaning I'm beautiful, so other girls hate me because of that. And there have been all of these like therapists responding on TikTok to this, like why this is so toxic and why this is wrong. But there was somebody, I was watching this yesterday. It was really interesting. It was a girl who's like, I think she's just got her degree. I don't even remember, but she was saying girls, they think you're beautiful and they do like you, but I don't even remember what she said, but it was so good. And she was like, this is such a toxic trend. Can we please eliminate this trend? Because it's like pretty much all these girls saying, well, I'm beautiful. And that's why girls don't like me because I'm pretty. And I'm like, that is really effed up. Like,
Gotta be something else deeper than that. Like
absolutely
has to be something deeper than that, because beauty is only skin deep. So it's got to be something that's emanating out of that, because you can be the most gorgeous woman in the world or man, but if you have a heart that's black and icky, it doesn't matter because it'll come through. And it's disgusting.
And Bria could talk to this. So I was doing, a lot of leveling up a few years ago. I had gone through a very traumatic experience, and I had a friend, and she's still a friend to this day, but she was never, she never showed up for me ever. Like, and I show up for everybody, it does not matter. And I don't need it. Like, I don't show up for everybody to get them to show up for me. Like, I just do it. Kat will tell you, I just do it.
You do.
But because one thing, regardless of all the limiting beliefs and the low self-worth my parents gave me, they show up for everyone too. So, and it's not, they never taught me like, oh, show up to get it in return. And even if people don't reciprocate it, you just do what you feel is right. But I asked her one time, I was like, I just don't get why you just can't show up for me for anything. I mean, like I sing in a choir with my mom, like she's never been to a concert, like anything small. It could be a birthday dinner and would not show. And she literally looked right at me and she was like, because you have enough love as it is, you don't need any more. And I was like, what? And she goes, well, you get enough love from everyone. And I was like, wait, what? And then she said, you're so talented and you're so beautiful, but then you're just such a good person at heart. And so I'm not that. And that's when I realized she was telling me, I don't show up for you, not because of you. I don't show up for you because of myself. Right? Because just my presence alone was intimidating to her. And and of course I'm sitting there hurt. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, I deal with my own self-esteem issues. I deal with, am I a good person? Did I, when we battle ourselves, and this person sitting there just like, well, you get enough love as it is. And not because she didn't get enough love, but just because she's like, you're a better person than me. And I'm like, but what a limiting, when I started to dissect, I'm like, what a limiting belief of herself, right? Right? Like that, isn't that? And then I started to see the other people that she surrounded herself with. And I'm like, oh,
that makes sense.
This is all kind of making sense, where I was saying there, like, why can't people show up for me? Or why do they make me feel, or why can't they support me? Or why do they want me to play small to them? And then I'm like, well, they want me to play small because they play small.
Right.
Yeah.
There's also that, I think there's that saying out there that wherever there is light, there cannot be darkness. So if you're exuding so much light, someone that's exuding darkness can't be around you.
Well, you're like a shield.
Well, and Bria would know with her gifts. I mean, I didn't know this, but until I started working with my energy healer, she was like, Natalie, people see your like aura, even though they don't realize that that's what they see. And I don't see that. Like, I don't see myself like that. But she goes, and just because of that, you're going to automatically have those people that want to see you fail, want to tear you down, because they know you're going to do it. Like, you're going to do it, and they can't, and they see that. And I'm like, I don't think like that. Bria, you don't think like that. We're not like that. So it's just, we don't see it in ourselves. So
I think that's so interesting.
Not funny.
I think too, those people, when I read into them, because before going into coaching, I was a full-time psychic. I worked with some of the people up in Hollywood. So you and I probably had similar clients as well. And so we know a lot of that juicy gossip. So I noticed that the spiritual practice is attached to nothing but connect to everything. And that's where you can have literally a relationship with everything. But the thing that I've learned about humans is it's not your heart that breaks, it's your expectations. So when you start to create something in your mind around like this relationship, this thing, well, once that's broken, it's like almost like you feel like your heart's broken, and that's an attachment.
Wow. That's so
love that. Another way.
He's like, add that.
Love that. Holy cow, that was deep. Let's go. Drop.
I know. I didn't recently learn until recently how to do that. Like, just move on with your bad self, and the right people will follow, or the right people will be there and remain.
You know what I had to learn, and Michelle could probably talk about this, being like a psychologist, that whole, do I want to be right or do I want to be free? Like, it wasn't, I was so afraid of the falling out that I kept those people in my life.
Yeah.
And instead it's like, now there's been no falling out. It just kind of fizzles away. Or they might still be in my life, but the emphasis I put on the relationship is not at all what it once was. And so I know, like Kat knows, the other night I texted you after, meeting with someone, and I was like, now I know next time I'll just be busy. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to meet with that person. And they're not a bad person. They just don't align with me anymore. And that's okay. But I don't have ill will towards them, where like I once maybe didn't have ill will, but I was so like afraid of the falling out psychologically, like afraid of the confrontation and the hurt, and what they would, what it was what they would project on me that then I would take on as my own, right? Being a light worker type of person, being an empath, not that I heal anybody or do that, but we take on other people's emotions, and then we allow them to project on us. And I was so terrified for so long to stand up for myself that now it's not even about standing up for myself. It's just like, I just don't tolerate that. So I just don't accept it in my life anymore.
Because you respect yourself.
Yeah. Where for the longest time I didn't respect myself, and so now it's just like, okay, they can be how they want, and I don't have ill will, and I can say hi, every now and then type of thing when that happens, but there's no emphasis on the relationship anymore. Because I think people get so scared of, all the people I'm going to lose in my life, where it's like, it's really not, like Bria said, it's the attachment then that you think you're losing, where if you just rechain your thinking about it, you're not really losing anything. You're just kind of like letting it move on from you.
It's more of an opportunity if you really think about it, because now it's redirecting you to who, like the next, like fate. I feel like life is full of chapters. So like now it's just like, okay, it's now time to transition to the new chapter. And this is going to be full of amazing opportunity and amazing people. And I'm really looking forward to who those people are. And like, you guys are those people for me. I'm like,
this is the next chapter.
I love this. May we never go back down. Not that Bria, you said something the other day about like low vibrations and high vibrations. And I loved it because I commented on it. I was like, I said that at one point, because it was like, sometimes we use like shame with the low and high vibration, like you're low vibrating, like making it sound like a really bad thing, even though it's just a difference. So you can explain that to us much better, because I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
I think we're talking about the post where you differentiate or you label good and bad on anything, just to have that label, which is a label is an attachment. So you put something bad to it, all of a sudden you're basically just self-sabotaging. I can't even talk right now. You know, and making yourself feel bad about going through this experience. But the reality is this is a contrasting reality. So in order for you to have this great thing, you have to have this thing that kind of sucks and hurts for a moment to just move through. And you just kind of got to get through it and be, you know, go actually through it though, because at the end of the day, we suppress those emotions. They come back up. We shame it. We put it back down. It comes back up. It's not going away unless you work on it.
Oh, I mean, if I'm going to cry, cause Natalie, you've been telling me just release it. Cause the one thing, and it's everything else is great. I'll cry about whatever I need to. But the one thing that I have refrained myself from crying about is my late friend, Terry. She took her own life, and I hold myself back from like releasing it because I'm afraid I won't be able to stop. And I know that's extremely unhealthy. But that's the one hang up for me right now is like with the release and suppression. Like I always suppress it.
Could also be the fact that you're afraid that once you release it, that you'll forget.
Yes.
That was a big one. When our daughter died, she was 19 and she was killed in a car wreck. And that was a big one for us. If I feel, then those emotions will heal, and then I will forget her. I will forget her laugh, her smile, her beautifulness. And that's not ever what I want to do. But now it's like, now that I've done the work and stuff and I can feel it, I can walk through it, I can talk through it. And now it's like, now she's more vibrant in everything that we do. So like Christmas just happened, and like I have a big old image of her that it's probably, I don't know, it's a big image, and we put Christmas hats on her every Christmas. And then we have all these little things we do, like we've put picture walls up with her for her birthday and different things like that. So there's specific things that we do and we talk about it. We talk a lot about it. Like we have 4 other children besides her. And so we talk about it with the kids, because I was so afraid of losing another child after that happened, because we're a blended family and we're very close. We wanted our children to be close. And so that was our intention going in, and we blended the family very, very well. And so we all took it excessively hard when we lost her, the siblings included, and they were adults. And so it's like, I can't really control an adult. I have no control over what you do with your life anymore. I can put words in, I can put thoughts in, but I can't control what they do. So so when she passed, I bottled everything up, because I'm like, okay, my family comes first. I have to make sure that they are okay. I have to so, and then it was like, after that was done, then it's like, okay, now I have to process. Now I have to go through it. And it's not, I know I'll never, ever get through the whole thing, just because it's an ebb and flow. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with all of it. As it comes, I take it and I roll with it and move on.
I'm so sorry, Faith, about that. I am so that is, oh my gosh, this is like way too emotional. And I no, but I understand when you said that really made sense to me too, because I have found myself like getting guilty when I don't think about Terry. Like when I'm not having her in my mind, I'm like, I start feeling like I shame myself and feel guilty about it. Like, how dare you not think of Terry today? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you do that diminishes their capacity as well, because they would not want you to feel that way. They would not want you to feel ill or unhealthy or angry or sad or mad. They're in a whole different realm, and they don't have an experience. For me, I don't think that they experience all those emotions where they're at now. It's a being place. They're there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does that makes sense for you? Am I like speaking out my butt right now?
No.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm thinking in my mind too, I'm like, if I die, don't worry. I'm over there fucking with you in some way, shape, or form on the other side. Exactly. I'm having fun. Don't worry, girlfriend.
That's totally Terry too. Terry was like the life of the freaking party. She's probably like, oh my God, like I can just hear her. Like,
girl, get your shit together right now. Let's do this.
She would. Oh my God. Like Natalie with the lady at Walgreens, like, honey,
Oh, you had to get it together. I did. I told her, I picked her up. I go, you got to get your shit together. You got to get it together. And she was like,
group, let's go.
oh yeah. I was like, we got to look at you. Like, look, no, like this, we're not having a meltdown over toy soldiers. It's not happening.
Right.
She was like, you know, horrified, but also thankful, you know, and I'm like, get up, girl. Like, let's go. Like, no one's helping you. Let's go. So, but Rhea and I know, you know, the other side, you know, and stuff like that. But Michelle could talk about, you still have to grieve in this time. And if you deny yourself that, then you're not going to ever be able to like not even move on, but like just live, you know, like how you're supposed to. So
I like and suicide is something that really affects people in a different way than other types of death. So like even in a tragic accident, it affects people much more so than if we're dealing with like old age or an illness. But something in the sense of like suicide, because we don't talk about it. I talk about this a great deal with a lot of my clients and wherever I go, because I don't think that we give it enough space to understand it and to appreciate it. And then there are all of these things that we're left with. We're left with questions. We're left with guilt and shame that we couldn't have helped them in some way. And so there is a lot that's left with us when someone takes their own lives that we can't control. And even as a therapist, so I've had a friend commit suicide, and I've also been a therapist of patients that have committed suicide. All of us kind of fall into that realm at one point in your career that you're going to lose a client to suicide. And, you know, even as us, I had a really horrific experience. I worked for the state of California in the prison system, and I worked with female offenders, and I worked in the mental health hospital. So you have your severely mentally ill who are incarcerated. And this young lady wasn't mentally ill, but had some depression and whatever was going on with her. And she was out of the hospital for about 3 weeks and then committed suicide. And the state of California just like ripped me a new one of like wanting, they need a fall guy, because again, once you're in the prison systems, you see like how there's so much responsibility on the workers to provide, you know, containment and how have you with these folks that you really can't control. And then it comes down to, you know, taxpayer monies and all of that stuff. So I had to be the fall guy because I was the doctor that saw her 3 weeks before she committed suicide. Not like 3 minutes, but 3 weeks. And that was my point where I just said, you know what, I'm out of here. I can't do this anymore. Stuff that shit up your ass. And I really like, because no one actually asked me how I felt about this person committing suicide either. And as a clinician and as a professional, you still have emotions about your clients. And I wasn't asked anything. It was just like, why does your paperwork look like this? And why is this like that? And I was interviewed by the state. It was just a whole ordeal. But that to be said, is that we aren't ever, I had to kind of check with myself and recognize that there wasn't anything that I could have predicted with this person. She had a clinician that was seeing her every day since her discharge from the hospital. And I've worked with another person that did commit suicide. If people are wanting to take their own lives, you will be the last to know, because they're going to tell you all of the things you want to hear, and then they're going to take their own lives because they don't want you to stop them.
Right.
And there isn't anything that you could do for that, but society has trained us to believe that in some way, you know, with the statistics and commercials and all that kind of stuff, that we should know and we should stop this.
Yes.
And it's so far from the actual truth.
I totally understand that, because my friend Terry she was the happiest I had ever seen her the week prior. I have never seen her happier. And I was like, wow, like, not that
That's
she's
always
happy.
indication.
Yes. And I didn't know that. And I felt so bad about that. Like, I should have known. And it wasn't, she was always happy, guys. She was always like bouncing around. That's just how she was. That's all the time, 24/7. With the exception of, like, I'm sure at night, you know, when she was my roommate at one point. And that's another reason I felt bad, because I'm like, how could I not have picked up on this? Like, how could I not have picked up on that? She was the person who was always concerned about everyone else in putting herself, because I think, like you said, Michelle, she didn't want us to know. Like, she didn't want us to know that anything was a problem, even though she had been through so much shit. And she would just like brush it off, like joke about it, you know, no, it's fine. I moved on from that. It's good. We're all good. It's time to party and dance and everything. And like, it was just, that was so hard. And my therapist said very much what you said, like, in those cases, because she's been through it as well. After 40 years of, you know, she's had losses too. And I can't imagine for you guys, especially like after a while, you probably have a better understanding of that. But the first time that happens, it's probably, and especially when you're being shamed for it, which is awful. But I remember the police were there and we were all sitting in a circle, and the policeman said, I have to tell you, everybody here, because she was our neighbor. We all lived in the same apartment community. We were like family. And he said, Terry, you know, I feel I've never talked to a group like this. Like, I usually talk to an individual after an episode like this. And he said, but I know that everyone here is probably feeling guilty and feeling like you could have done more. And he said, in all of my years, I'm telling you, there's nothing you could have done to change the outcome of this. And it's so hard. And I think just by nature, we love people and we want to be able to save them. But you're so right with the commercials and stuff. Like, we can change this. I'm like, you really can't, though. You really can't.
And I was going to say, people with gifts, I know this is kind of like a little bit different, but people who have gifts are more prone to suicidal tendencies, because we know that. So we know that when we get on the other side, we're completely free and we can just go and do whatever, you know, that time. But at the same time, we also have to understand, and this is why I think as a survivor of, you know, suicide, I should have died that night. And when they brought me back, like, I had fully accepted after I swallowed those pills. I'm like, I'm out. I'm gone. Like, I was leaving my body before I even died. And so when I got pulled back in, it was a nurse who was like, you know, doing whatever, God knows whatever on top of me. And I like jumped out and started pulling everything out of my body. And I'm just like, who woke me up? And I was so angry. But the thing is that now I can tell the story of, you know, no matter what, with somebody who's suicidal, nobody knew up until that point. Like, it was such a shock to my own family that I had done that it was just like, nobody could have been more, nobody could stop me. I made my mind, I knew what I wanted to do, I did. You know, it's just the reality. It sucks.
Wow.
You know?
That's like so heavy.
I know. I'm sorry, guys.
No, I know. I think I brought that down. I'm sorry. Terry's probably like, oh my God. Like,
no, this is stuff that needs to be talked about, though. We don't talk about this enough as a society. We just sweep it under the damn rug and just expect everyone to be okay with it.
Yes.
And it's not. We all process it and we all feel and we all think and we do different things. And I think that is the beauty and the curse of it all. But we still have to talk about it. Like, it has to be a focal point and not like, oh, you need to do better. Like, you need to pick up the symptoms long before. You need to do this. You need to do that. No, we all have to have our own accountability with it and our own perceptions of it, not project them onto everyone else. Well, and that's what society is doing, you know, has been doing for like multiple centuries.
Well, how many people do you know in your life that if you find out somebody took their own life, they're like, oh, how freaking selfish.
Exactly. Oh my God.
And it takes away the whole point of why that person is gone, why they did what they did. 99% of people don't take their life because they're being selfish. They believe at that point they're being the most unselfish they've ever been.
Exactly.
And it's the only cure for that moment.
Right. And
some of them do, not all of them, but
and
some.
then families can't grieve because they are now shamed for the fact that that person took their life. Like I remember like my cousin had a friend who took his life, and my uncle, like, you know, called my parents to say what happened just because my cousin was not doing well. And, you know, he was like afraid to say why my cousin wasn't doing well. Right. Because the stigma is like, well, they took their own life, so we can't grieve them. And, you know, and then families don't get the grief and the help that they need because how many people, you know, die of addiction, and then the family can't grieve that person the same way they would if the person died of a natural cause, or, you know, or being sick, because they can't, because they're shamed for the fact that that person had an addiction.
Like addiction is so severe. You have no right to say that about someone. That is so, oh my God, so narrow-minded.
Well, it's also stigmatized, all of it, because I think that if we stigmatized it a little less, people would reach out and get help. But I don't know how many times I can say that clients, if I straight up ask them about suicidal thoughts, they tiptoe around it. And I have to be the one that's forward because I'm very comfortable with suicidal thoughts, and I'm not the one that just wants to hospitalize everyone, because I've worked in many of them. And sometimes it's a subconscious thought process that basically you don't know how else to deal with something. The only way I could deal with it is by disappearing, and the only way they could disappear is through death. And so I kind of bring that out, and I let them know, okay, well, unless you are going to hurt yourself right at this moment, we're not hospitalizing you. And we're going to talk about like why this is playing a role in your life, as opposed to us focusing on the behavior itself. I look at like the psychological piece of the suicidal thoughts. And I think a lot of my clients appreciate that, because I haven't really hospitalized too many people because of that. But people can talk to me about it. Because I had actually one client, he was a college student that he was a high performer, track student, and kept having these suicidal thoughts that he wanted to shoot himself. And I, you know, went through the whole thing. Do you have a gun? No, I don't have a gun. And, you know, we went down the road. He didn't believe he can have a gun because in California, if you've been hospitalized for mental health reasons, then you aren't able to then have a legal weapon. And so he believed he couldn't have a gun. So we talked about how it must be even hard that you couldn't even be successful, so to say, in the idea of wanting to commit suicide. So you weren't even, it was all went down to his ability to feel successful. And even in something so tragic, he couldn't be successful in that because he couldn't, in his mind, he couldn't buy a gun. Even though I didn't, you know, want to go down the road that he can get one wherever he wanted to. We left him with the belief that he couldn't have a gun. But it was way beyond him wanting to even die, because he didn't want to die and he didn't ever attempt. But it was more so of his ability to not feel successful.
That's so, wow. That just like why therapy is so important. This is why, or any kind of spiritual work, therapy, like this is why it's so important.
Well, it's the acceptance of something that most would consider morbid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're just kind of at peace. Because I know, like, right when I did it, I was just at peace. I'm like, okay, take me. Like, it's time to go. And, you know, as crazy as that sounds, it felt perfect. It felt right.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. That's so true. And I thank you guys for understanding that too, because I feel like in a safe space here. And I hope that everyone who listens to everything that we talked about today feels like they're in a safe space through this podcast. And I know they will.
And if not, they should maybe reach out to someone on this podcast and talk to them if they're having this, especially Michelle. Like, I'm just going to say that. I don't know that I can help you very well, but
yes, for sure. I mean, I can make you laugh.
Right, exactly. That's about all I got.
Sometimes laughter is the best therapy, though. I mean, really, truly, if we can, a good belly laugh is good for everyone.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything they would like to add today?
No, but I love
it. If anybody wants to, go ahead.
Say it's like The View, but we all agreed.
Right?
I loved it.
I think they agreed in the beginning too.
No one was like Joy Behar and Whoopi.
We're in the honeymoon phase. We don't know yet. For sure.
Oh no.
No, we are in the honeymoon phase. I'll be excited to see what happens on like episode 6. No, I know that this group is going to be respectfully disagreeable if that ever happens. It's not, I don't think there's going to be like hopefully not. I mean, I don't feel that vibe at all.
No.
We're missing 3 people though, so we still have a chance. Oh my gosh, guys, this was awesome. Everybody who listened and watched, if you're watching on YouTube, thanks for tuning into our first episode of the Red Lips and Mic Drops podcast. And I hope you guys tune in next time. We're going to be, I don't know when we're airing this. This is very new, so we'll figure that out. Okay. All right, ladies.
Right. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Bye,
Have a good week.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
8 strangers on the internet coming together for intimate conversations about difficult topics with soft hearts and strong voices. This is Red Lips and Mic Drops.
Red lips and mic drops, thick hips and lip gloss. I'm talking issues and our thoughts. The world's unfair, so let's talk. Red lips and mic drops, thick hips and lip gloss. I'm talking issues and our thoughts. The world's unfair, so let's talk.